Hello, this is Ian Stewart, and welcome to the People of Earth podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the People of Earth podcast, where we interview the top performers in the New York City world music scene. Thank you again for everyone that tuned in last week for Juancho Herrera's interview. I actually didn't notice until a day ago that that interview didn't get automatically uploaded onto my Facebook page. So for those of you who checked in unsolicitedly, thank you for that. I will make sure by the time you hear this interview, I will have that one posted on my Facebook page as well. All right, all technical errors aside, I want to just take a second to announce two of the upcoming shows with People of Earth to keep an eye out for. Of course, I am talking about March 16th at Drum, which is at 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. And also April 15th at Rockwood Music Hall, one set only, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Stage 2, for those of you who are familiar with Rockwood Music Hall. Put those on your calendar. Definitely don't miss those two shows. Obviously, all other information on other upcoming shows with People of Earth, as well as where to buy tickets to our upcoming performances, can be found on our website at www.peopleofearthmusic.com. All right, with all that said, let's get to this week's episode. Our guest for this week is a very close friend of People of Earth. In fact, he used to live with Gabriel Globus, our fearless leader. Of course, I am talking about the fantastic bass player, Bam Bam Rodriguez. Bam Bam is a certified citizen of the world. He's originally from Caracas, Venezuela, but he's lived in a few different places in Europe and has been in the United States, in New York City, for several years now. And he plays with quite a few groups here in New York City, including Juancho Herrera, who was last week's guest, also Yayo Serka, Claudia Acuña. He's done some things with Ari Hoenig and plays for Arturo O'Farrill as well. Of course, outside of New York, he can be seen touring around the world with the psychedelic Venezuelan supergroup La Crema Paraiso. Probably my favorite part of this interview is when we talk about traveling and the part of Bam Bam's story where he talks about leaving home when he was 18 years old and traveling to Europe on a whim and, kind of where that decision has kind of led him. He's one of those guys that kind of is able to go just about anywhere and kind of build a community of people around him, which has served him very well in both his career and just his life in general. All right, I don't want to give away too much about this interview before it starts, so I will turn the rest of this over to Bam Bam. Thank you again for tuning in to the People of Earth podcast, and without further ado, I present to you Bam Bam Rodriguez. Thank you. Bam, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
You're a good friend of People of Earth.
Yes, I'm a very good friend of People of Earth.
Yeah.
I was there witnessing the beginnings of People of Earth.
You were on the first video, if I do.
I was in the first video, yeah. We were all wearing pink.
Yeah. Glad I wasn't on that one.
Yeah.
I would have just said no.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
There's no way Gabe was getting me to wear pink.
Yeah, Gabe gave me a shirt of his that was bright pink.
Yeah. All right, well, great to have you here. So I want to talk to you specifically about this very interesting kind of professional niche you've kind of carved out for yourself here in New York. I mean, you currently play with Crema Paraiso, right? Mm-hmm. And quite a few other people in the South American music scene, as well as some other world styles too.
Yeah.
And just kind of want to get some background of how all that kind of came to happen for you.
Well, I arrived to New York. The first time I came to New York, it was about 7 years ago, 2010 or 11, I can't remember. I came here for an exchange program at Purchase. Back then, I was studying in Amsterdam, and so I came to this program, spent here like 3-4 months, loved it, met some people, mainly at school, and then went back to finish my master's in Amsterdam. But I already knew I was gonna come back, you know. So as soon as I finished, I came back to New York. One of the key figures in my network development in New York was guitar player, singer, songwriter, composer Juancho Herrera.
Okay, yeah.
Whom we both know.
He's been interviewed on this actually.
Beautiful.
It's not up yet, but
okay, beautiful, yeah. So I met him at a Marta Gomez concert in The Hague, in the Netherlands.
Oh, okay.
And you know, I met him. I met Franco Pina.
Okay, yeah.
So, you know, we connected pretty quickly, and I told him that I'm moving here. He gave me his contact. He said, yeah, you know, look for me when you move here. So that's what I did. You know, I came here, moved, and then I went to see him at I believe it was the second edition of the South American Music Festival that he basically organized at Zig Bar. Gregorio Uribe was playing, Sofia Rey was playing. So yeah, then I met him there, and you know, he basically introduced me to a lot of people. Sort of opened the way for me to actually play with some of them. I remember I went to some of the sound checks and shows of Claudia Acuña.
Yeah.
And it was interesting. One of those, it was at the New Jazz Gallery. When it was just opening, I think. I mean, it was not so old back then.
New Jazz Gallery? That's what you said?
The New Jazz Gallery.
New Jazz Gallery.
Yeah,
okay.
the new building, I mean.
Yeah.
Then in Broadway.
About to say.
So I was at Juancho's place, we were playing, you know, and he's like, you know, I have this concert with Claudia Acuña, trio, just Claudia, Yuri Juarez, and me.
Okay.
Come by, you know, listen, you know, you have to wait for the sound check, but whatever, you can go eat, you know.
Right.
So I go with him, we're hanging out, and Claudia sees that I have a bass. She didn't know me. Or maybe she met me once, and she sees that I have a bass. She's like, why don't you come play a tune with us? So I play a tune, and she's like, why don't you play a few more tunes, you know? So I ended up playing a few tunes on the show, and then the next day, there was another, they had the same show, like 2 nights in a row.
Oh, really? Okay.
So she called me back, and that was a good point for me, because it got me started to play with her. Then we did another show later on at the Brooklyn Museum. Yayo Serka was there. That's when I met Yayo for real. Pablo Vergara. Yeah, I think that it was us, Juancho, her and I.
Yeah.
And that was a big opening for me, you know, because I met all these people that I ended up working with a lot later.
Yeah.
And then back to, you know, the connection with Juancho. He kept introducing me to a lot of people, you know, and I ended up working with. So that was one side. The other side was you asked me about Crema Paraiso.
Yeah.
It was sort of the same, you know. They're Venezuelans.
Yeah.
One of them was the man behind one of the really important bands over there called Los Amigos Invisibles.
Okay.
And at some point he formed with Nilo Ochoa. His name is Cheo Pardo, Jose Luis Pardo, or DJ Afro. And together with percussionist Nilo Ochoa, they formed Los Crema Paraiso a few years, like 5 years ago, with Alvaro on bass, Alvaro Benavides on bass.
Right, yeah, I do remember seeing posters or ads or something they were putting up, and his picture was on it.
Yeah, exactly. This was before I moved here. And I knew the band, you know. And for me it was one of these great bands that took, you know, traditional Venezuelan music, mixed it with, in this case, sort of psychedelic electro rock dance.
Yeah.
And did it at a very high level, you know.
Yeah.
That's always admirable for me, the people that really take it seriously and do it at a high level.
Yeah.
So anyway, eventually Alvaro starts calling me to sub for him, you know.
Yeah.
He was with Pedrito, he was doing a lot.
Yeah.
Can you sub for me? Yeah. So I learned the music. Can you sub for me? Yeah. Can you sub for me? And at some point he was like, can you just keep the gig? because it's it's getting hard.
Yeah.
So I kept it,
Yeah.
and then I started playing with these guys regularly, and again the sort of Venezuelan connection,
Yeah.
because I'm Venezuelan too. And then I started it. I feel Los Crema Paraiso was a great opportunity for me because it was, and it is still a sort of playground for my crazy ideas. I started playing a lot of synths, and bass and things with that band, and now the live setups I have, the bass with all the pedals stuff, but I also have two Moogs that I play with them, and I would have never imagined to do this before.
Yeah.
I remember when I was a kid, I loved listening to Rush and to Emerson Lake and Palmer.
Yeah.
And basically that's what they do. It's three people and they do this wall of sound.
Right.
So
yeah, you need. I feel like for that kind of stuff, to start experimenting sonically like that, you really need an outlet for it. It's not something you can really do like in your room so much.
Yeah.
You have to do it on stage, figure out all the bugs in that system.
Exactly, yeah, and it's exactly how you say it. I studied in my room, and I feel like I was learning the basics.
Yeah.
Also of how synths work. Analog synths work, like really the raw one button per function thing.
Yeah.
But then it was only when I started performing live, and obviously in the rehearsals too, that I started understanding how to use it, how it works, and what functions can it cover.
Yeah.
Because when you're three people, that's one of the cool things, is that you have all these layers on the spectrum of sound that you can choose to cover or not. Sub basses, mid basses, like this, all the way up. And one of the things that I learned a lot with the synths is how to manage all these layers.
Yeah.
Before, as a bass player, you have some choices, but I have a tendency to think as a bass player.
Yeah.
Now this kind of forced me to think. I think more as a producer, I would guess. I don't really know how to name it, but to think in sound of sound in more broad terms,
Yeah.
And so that was very interesting for me. And now I end up actually doing a lot of that thanks to this outlet that I had the opportunity to have, So yeah, that's more on the Venezuelan connection. Then there was another important part in my, my whole network development, is that through some people that I met at Purchase when I was here on exchange.
Who?
This guy called John Lander.
Yeah.
He's a good friend back then.
When were you at? What years were you at Purchase?
I think it was, I'm going to tell you, probably 2010.
Oh, okay. So, right. I graduated in 2008.
Yeah, so it was a bit after you.
Yeah, a bit after me.
I think it was 2010, yeah. And I keep in touch with a lot of the people that I met there. I still play with them, actually, with some of them.
Well, I know you play with Ann Mikado quite a bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
with
Anne, she was in fact the first person I met. I met her on the bus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
and then I met Rogerio Lucaro too. He was actually teaching back then, and he was another person that also helped me a lot. I learned a lot from him, connected me with a lot of people.
Okay.
But yeah, I still play with Anne. It's been 7 years. I was in the band since the beginning. It's changed quite a lot, the band. It used to be more like, in school it sounds a bit more jazz. Now I wouldn't even dare to put a name on the music, It's very electronic, very jazz rock kind of thing, The setup is also quite unusual, She's playing keyboards and piano and singing. We're all singing, drummers, me playing all my spaceship, and a harmonica player.
Yeah, right.
So this guy called John Lander, piano player, great guy. When I just moved to New York, I was doing a lot of gigs with him at Vivaldi Cafe,
Okay.
Down in the village. And then one of those gigs was with Zach O'Farrill, drummer.
Yep.
And it was one of these people that you start playing and you click automatically,
Nice.
You have the same humor in the music. You know the same languages a lot,
Yeah.
I mean, at least a lot of languages in common. And yeah, we had a lot of fun. And then he eventually he called me for a session at his house. And when I get there, the piano player was Arturo O'Farrill, his father.
Yeah, yeah.
I was here for like a year max,
Mm-hmm.
and coming not from New York, not even from the US, to see a guy like him, for me was very intimidating, you know.
Right, right.
And I didn't know I was gonna be there. I arrived in the room and he's there, you know, this guy that I listened to the records of his and his father, Chico Farrell, when I was a kid, man.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember being really intimidated, you know.
Yeah.
And also, clicked. We had a great session. We played really fun music, and that was one of the biggest doors that opened for me in you know, network-wise in New York. Because then I started working a lot with Arturo, you know, subbing in the big band for Greg August, who is, you know, an incredible bass player.
Yeah, yeah.
From whom I learned a lot too, you know. And then also playing in the small ensembles. Now, since 3 years, actually, we have with Arturo a project that is called Blitz, which is one of my favorite projects that I've done ever, actually. It's basically, we go to places in the Bronx where there would normally not be live music, and we play, you know, quality music, you know, based around Latin jazz-ish.
Yeah.
And then the first season was started 3 years ago, I think. Was with Will Calhoun on drums.
Yeah.
Another guy that, you know, like Living Color, man. We all listened to the records endlessly, you know.
Yeah.
So it was a cool opportunity to work with him.
Wow.
And then it was Cali Rodriguez Peña on trumpet, Alejandro Aguiles on sax, Arturo, and I. And then it was great. We played in laundromats, boxing rings, the public squares.
I think I saw the boxing ring photos on Facebook or something.
Yeah, they're around.
It's like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, it's crazy, you know, because one of the things I love about this project is that usually you go to play a concert and people come to see you.
Yeah,
they pay a ticket, you know.
Yeah.
This is the opposite. You go to them, they're not even calling for you, you know.
Yeah,
you just go to them and play music, and the way they receive it is so beautiful, man. It's so different too. You're going to their home, you know, to the laundromat where they go and wash the clothes, you know, every week, you know. And I remember that particular concert in the laundromat was incredible, man. There were kids sitting on the machines, old people. It was mostly kids and old people, you know.
Yeah, of course.
There was a guy with a white parrot.
Was it during the week?
It was during the week.
Yeah, so that's all that's going to be there.
And we collaborate with artists from the Bronx. So that time we collaborated with the Light Feet, you know, the subway break dancers kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, they're called Light Feet. The company was called.
Yeah.
I didn't until I met them. Yeah, the company was called Waffle, New York City.
Okay.
And then after that we collaborated with a glass musician. You know, he does music with all sorts of glass. Sound artists. Last week we played a show with Grandmaster Cass, man, who is like hip hop legend, you know. Baba Israel was a fun one too.
Oh yeah. He's something else.
Yeah. And you know, a bunch of others ones. And you know, through this connection, purchase, John Lander, Zach, Arturo, I ended up having this project that just makes me really happy, you know. And it's also another outlet for craziness, you know, because it started as a Latin jazz thing, and then now we do, you know, improv, just whatever, you know. And it's cool to do it with, you know, 2-3 generations of people, you know. I remember actually one of the highlights of this project for me was that I got to write a tune in honor of Andy Gonzalez, and I went to his house to interview him.
Oh yeah.
Imagine for a Venezuelan kid to end up at Andy's place, hanging with him, having tea with him, you know, playing his bass, talking to him about his life.
Yeah.
I saw the file of the interview last week and I listened to it again, you know.
Yeah. What did you do with that interview? Was it just for doing the tune, or did you actually air it somewhere?
It was for the tune, yeah. That was the purpose. I mean, it's in the files of. So this project is in conjunction with this organization called Casita Maria, which is a community organization in the Bronx. It's like 85 years old. After school for kids, music lessons, art lessons for free. So they have the whole archive, of the project. So the interview is there too. But the first reason was to write a tune for it, basically. So I wrote a tune that we performed with the project in the first season. And yeah, that was great too. I got to meet Andy. So it's like check.
Yeah, exactly.
Later this year with Arturo, I got to record in an album with Chucho Valdez. Familia, which just came out recently. And wow, another one. These kind of things that you don't expect, and suddenly they happen.
Certainly.
And then what else? At the beginning of my New York life, I was also playing a lot of jazz.
Yeah.
I mean, what is jazz, right? But
yeah,
more on the mainstream concept of
the straight ahead
jazz.
side of it.
Yeah, I mean, also modern jazz, not necessarily straight ahead, but with the jazz cats, let's say.
Yeah.
I was playing a lot with that, and somehow I started moving around other circles. So now I do a lot of everything. I love those gigs. I do them less than I did at the beginning. I think I do the right amount for me. The amount that makes me happy, and it doesn't make me, I don't know, tired or something.
Yeah.
I think that's most of the circles that I move myself in. Also, I lived 8 years in Europe.
Yeah.
When I left home when I was 18, I went straight to Europe.
Yeah.
Sort of on a nomad pirate trip,
Yeah.
I ended up staying 8 years, and I still have a lot of connections there. So I go there, I don't know, 4 or 5 times a year.
Yeah.
Which is cool too. When you live in New York, you need to get out sometimes.
Absolutely.
And it works out perfectly for me because I end up going there a lot. I also go with bands from here.
Yeah.
But then when I go there, I stay longer.
Yeah.
So that's also another one, which for me it creates a healthy balance of New York craziness, constant input to breathing a little bit,
Yeah.
And so I definitely appreciate it every time I get to go there. And of course, I have people there. Some of the people that I love the most,
right,
that are over there, that I get to see them. And then people of Earth. That was Gabe Globus was also one of these people that we ended up working a lot and doing a lot of projects together.
Yeah. You guys lived together for.
We lived together for a year.
1 year,
bit
right?
More, like a year and a month.
Yeah.
Exactly a year and a month.
Yeah. I remember the Riverdale
so
house.
Back then we created what we call the Bronx Music House. It was a great project. Basically we got people to come to the house. Nothing in mind.
Yeah.
We just created a song and recorded it in video and audio.
Yeah.
And published it. We did it for a year. We got a few videos out. We got probably 8 videos out. I still have a folder of 25 more videos that maybe one day I'll edit and put them out. Some of them are great.
Yeah, you should. Well, I remember the ones that you guys did with Victor.
Yeah.
And then one you did with Juancho and somebody else.
Juancho Hadar.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Flute,
yeah.
We did one. We did a really big one with a bunch of people. Some of them were not even musicians. I remember Vuyo Sotasha was there, good friend from South Africa. Jeremy Smith was there too.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
He was always there.
He was always there. Yeah.
I remember that.
Francesco de Ruiz was there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. The Italian guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. These were the regulars actually.
Mm-hmm.
Gabe and I, of course, and then Jeremy and Francesco.
Yeah.
They were always there.
And the Bocado family lived with
the
you guys.
Bocado there, they were there for a while. Yeah.
That was such a wild house. I mean,
that was a great house. Yeah, they were with us for a month, and they came for a few of the videos too.
Yeah.
I think Rogero came for 2 videos, maybe even 3, and also with 2-3 videos. Yeah, that was definitely one of the most fun times I had here.
Yeah.
We used to do sessions on Mondays, and it was great. We also did other things. That I remember we did at Thanksgiving. That was 40 people in the house.
Yeah, I don't know whether this was something. This this is always the impression I got of Gabe, and actually the interview I did with him was actually kind of a verification of this. And I wonder if you kind of fit in the same category because you guys were in this similar situation. I mean, you both kind of, brought all these people to that house and kind of congregated these like large groups of people together, and to collaborate in these projects, whether they were even aware that they were doing that or not. You know, is that something that you were doing in Europe or before?
Yeah, I was always passionate. Actually, since I was a kid, I was always really passionate about people in general, right?
Yeah.
And here in New York, one of the things I discovered I like to do is to get people together and do things organized but not necessarily planned, And that was a good outlet for that. Because, especially in New York, you have people from all over with all different ways of thinking and backgrounds and ideas and goals. And in life, think about this. In life, a lot of times you end up hanging around with people that think similar of you.
Sure.
That
most people do.
If you're a musician, most people,
Yeah.
If you're a musician, a lot of times you end up hanging with the people that play music that are similar to yours.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're an artist or you're a lawyer, if you're whatever you are, Like there's a natural tendency to do that. And one of the things I love is to break a little bit with that. And in Bronx Music House, even though most of us were musicians, not all of us, it was people that we would normally not meet,
Yeah.
So that was interesting because the things that came out were very spontaneous, very musical, very natural, and very beautiful. And I remember some of those tracks, I wouldn't have heard something like that in anywhere else,
Sure.
So I definitely like that. I definitely like the concept of people getting together and doing stuff together, I really loved, one of the things I really loved was sort of conducting the whole process of people creating together, but in a way that it didn't necessarily feel like I was doing that, because it was a collective project, but it was my house,
Yeah.
So inevitably there's some sort of expectation from everyone that you're gonna kind of bring material or do something. I'm not trying to break with that, but still you're trying to get it somewhere,
Right.
I really love that. I really love this thing of you really don't know what you're getting into, and you have to, you sort of lead it somewhere,
Yeah.
Put the breadcrumbs so the little bird follows.
Yeah.
I really love that. I really enjoy that while remaining a collective thing.
Yeah.
So I would say that that's a lot in my personality.
Yeah.
To bring people together. And Gabe is definitely like that too,
Yeah, no, totally.
I think it was a good match, although we have completely different personalities. It was a good balance, We could do that, and whatever I was lacking, he complimented, and vice versa,
Yeah, absolutely. It was a special thing. I mean, for all of us, I guess. That place. It was a good location, and it's a beautiful house. I mean,
beautiful house.
Obviously, very few people here listening to this will have seen it, but
I remember the other day I was doing a show in, I think, in Philly.
Yeah.
And somebody was like, "Wait, are you the guys from Bronx Music House?" And it's like, "What?"
Yeah.
So I know there's some people randomly that know these videos, but it's not such a large following, of course. But yeah, it was a beautiful house, and also the fact that it was far. It was an important factor because it was in Riverdale, and West 254th Street. So you had to take the one train and still take a bus or walk like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So when people would go there, it was a commitment.
Yeah. Yep.
It's not like, oh, I'm in Bushwick. Oh, you're in Astoria? Okay, I'll just, take the N and or the Q and whatever,
Yeah.
It's like, it's going to take me a while to get there and a while to get home. So once they were there, they were there.
Yeah.
And there was nothing that distracted us.
Yeah.
Basically. Yeah. That was very magical because I remember most of the evenings ended up with us being at midnight, super tired of working for so many hours and trying to get the perfect take, And we finished the take super tired, like, no, one more, we can do better, one more. And like this for like another hour. And we always ended up getting great takes, And I feel like that partly was because people were, took an hour plus to get there, sometimes 2 hours.
Yeah.
And they knew that they were gonna have to take a couple hours, so they
Might
wanted
as
to make it
well.
worth it,
Yeah. Oh, that's a great point.
It's a great point. I love that. I miss that actually. I miss that aspect, and obviously in New York, it's hard to get that.
Well, yeah. I mean, is there? Do you have any kind of a similar outlet for that sort of thing now? I mean, because it sounds like it was something you really thrived in. So.
Yes and no. There's a project I'm starting to work on. It's really green. It's really really green. But I'm trying to make music for how to say. Okay, so usually you go to see a concert and you're focused on the band, right?
Yeah.
You see what they're doing, curious about what they're doing, and I recently started working on a project that maybe it's gonna be a solo project. I'm not sure yet. That I try to make music for people to sort of be with themselves,
Okay. Yeah. I don't. You're gonna have to elaborate on that.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what you mean.
So I want to play music for people to sit down, sleep, meditate, write, draw, whatever. Because I realized at some point that it's a very obvious thing I'm gonna say, but it was sort of a realization for me that when you have sound around your music, it makes you think in a different way. It makes you sometimes think at the same things in different ways. So I think that's kind of the phase where I'm at now, trying to experiment with that. What is sound doing to your brain, to your body, and how it affects the way you think. I definitely remember being in a few concerts when I let my brain go, stop paying attention to the music or to the band or to the stage.
Yeah.
To the stage rather, and let my brain go and realize how interesting it was that I was thinking about the same things in a completely different way.
Okay.
So that got my attention. That caught my attention really strongly, and I'm sort of working on that. I always loved minimalistic music, for example.
Yeah.
And so I'm sort of working on that, and it falls kind of well with the whole synth exploration, and also with Los Crema, Los Crema Paraiso. That's part of the things that I'm trying to get into, So that's another creative outlet to get this sort of music,
Yeah.
We work a lot with contrast, It's
Yeah.
completely out meditative thing, and then
Yeah.
So, as far as more related to your question, I'm trying to get this be a project, also kind of a house project for beginning,
Yeah.
how the Bronx Music House was, like more a local project. But I'm trying to develop that, that people know that, it's a kind of get-together project, and we do that,
Yeah.
Which is, similar to Bronx Music House. Again, getting people together, kind of thing, people of Earth. Getting the people of Earth together.
Yeah, I know. It's that seems to be the way to do it, though. I mean, like nobody really gets anywhere alone. So I mean, we all know that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, man. I was thinking, like, I if I listen back to all the stuff I'm blabbering here, it's kind of being with people and letting people be in your space and allow myself to dare to be in their space it's been one of the most important things in my life, actually.
Yeah.
I left home in Venezuela when I was 18, and I went to Europe. I had a plane ticket and a place to stay for a couple of weeks. That's all I had. I didn't have money, I didn't know the language, I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
I had some aunt in some town somewhere that I didn't know, so I didn't have anyone, basically. And I ended up spending 8 years there. Why? Because the moment I arrived to Europe, people took me in their arms. People were super nice to me. They received me. They let me in their lives. They shared their everything with me. From food to creative stuff.
Yeah.
Time, house, everything. And I feel like that marked me a lot. When I was a kid, in fact, um, there used to be a lot of gatherings of people actually at the house too to play music, and that's actually how I got into music. You know, I saw them playing, and I was like, man, I want to do it too. You know.
Yeah.
I remember being a little kid, and I was supposed to be sleeping, and I was hiding, you know, behind the door and trying to watch how these guys play like Rush or like Yes, Pink Floyd songs, and trying to remember, you know, how the fingers look so I can copy it the day after, you know.
Yeah, you grew up on similar music that I did.
Oh yeah.
My dad is a huge progressive rock fan. So
yeah, my dad too.
Yeah.
Those were definitely my first influences in music, you know. Prog rock. When I was a kid, I used to love Rush. They were my heroes. I didn't really know why. I just loved the sound.
Yeah.
I was not necessarily focused or interested in virtuosism or any of that.
Yeah.
I just loved the sound, you know.
Yeah.
And then later on, when I understood how they did it, then my mind was blown, you know.
Yeah.
Three dudes doing this by themselves. Wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, I was used to people helping out when I was a kid. In fact, for about a year, a bit more maybe, I took part in El Sistema.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
okay. Yep.
Sort of, you know, it was a short time.
Yeah.
But it's interesting what it did for me because it's, again, something that is people-based.
Yeah.
For the listeners that don't know what this is, El Sistema is this whole thing back in Venezuela that now spread around so many countries that basically took kids, gave us free instruments, free music lessons, and the opportunity to play in an orchestra.
Yeah.
Even when you didn't know how to play, you know.
Right.
So I was a kid who grabbed the bass, and 6 months later I was playing an orchestra, you know. Playing probably out of tune, exactly as I play now, but us bass players, you know, double bass players, you know this.
Well, I left that world a long time ago.
I think I won't ever leave it. But yeah, man. So this thing was crazy, you know. You get all these kids from all different backgrounds, man. Poor kids, rich kids, kids from this neighborhood, kids from that neighborhood, kids that are interested in this, kids that are interested in that. And we were all together in a room, almost every day for 3 hours rehearsing. And in fact, we were getting there early to practice the parts, you know.
Yeah.
And for me personally, what this did for me is that it stopped me from doing bad things, man. Back where I grew up, the way I grew up, the place where I grew up, a lot of the people that I was hanging out were doing bad things, you know. There was a lot of people doing drugs, you know, the hardcore, bad way, people with guns, killing people or getting people killed, you know, this kind of thing, you know. And, you know, I saw it, and I feel like music got me out of it before I could even have a chance to get into it.
Yeah.
So what I was doing in my free time, going to play music. Some of my friends, some of the people that I was hanging out with, that I grew up with, they were not. Yeah. Some were okay, and some were not. Some were doing things that weren't cool, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like when I look back, I feel like I was so lucky, you know, to have this, because it also created a mindset for me that, okay, I'm gonna do cool stuff with my life, you know? I want to do stuff that I love. Doesn't matter, you know. Doesn't matter what, but at least it's gonna keep me healthy, you know, and happy and inspired about life. Yeah. So I feel like that had a huge impact, you know, on me. Yeah. Because I could have ended up in a different way, and I didn't, thanks to this. Yeah. Thanks to these people that wanted me to play, you know. Thanks to all these kids that were sharing with me and teaching me, and sharing, you know, their knowledge and their practice time with me. Yeah. So for me, always community was a huge aspect of music. You know? Huge aspect of music, and I think it's always going to be. I think that's one of the things it does. You know, it connects us to each other. Absolutely. The typical thing, you know, you speak English, I speak Spanish. We don't know each other's language, but we understand. You know, we can play together. So yeah. And then, you know, it was back home. It was like that. People helped me. People taught me. People took me in their arms. I moved to Europe. I lived about 7-8 years there. in Belgium and in the Netherlands, same thing. You know, people took me in their homes, and in Europe I was always the the guy that is not from there at all. And is there by himself. So they became a family. You know. Yeah. I never liked people. You know, they were there. They were there for me. You know. Mm-hmm. I went to do tours with them. I also went to their family homes in the holidays with them. You know. Mm-hmm. And then in New York, I feel like we're all kind of like that. But I came here knowing that I like that. And that it makes people feel good. Mm-hmm. So, I try to follow on that a little bit. And although it's not necessarily compatible with New York because everybody's on their own thing, you know?
There is a very, unique mentality here for sure. Yeah. Like everybody's... it's a place where people come with an agenda, so it's like it kind of breeds a mindset that very much kind of goes against that from the get-go. I think, but yet I feel like the people like yourself that do a lot in a very short period of time are people that are aware of the fact that your opportunities come from other people. I mean that's just a fact. Just from a practical, logical standpoint. Yeah. But at the same time, if it's something that is an inseparable part of yourself, then it kind of works together very cohesively in a very cool way.
Yeah, it definitely. Yeah, it's exactly how you put it. When it really is a part of you, and you know it. Yeah. It doesn't really matter where you are. You're gonna chase that. Yeah. Whether it's compatible or not, because at the end you make your own life and your own decisions, and they have the consequence that is all on you. So yeah, even being in New York, I search for that. One of the things that I'm thinking about lately a lot, and it has been one of my major revelations in New York, is that. What seems to be a New York life? What seems to be the life of a bass player in New York? A bass player in New York. Yeah. Do I like it? Do I want it? Some people like it, some people don't. Yeah. And I'm realizing that I really love. I really love the traveling life. I really love the resting life. The having time by yourself doing nothing. Yeah. Right? Which again, quote, not compatible with New York, but I realized that I want to make that. I want to make that happen. So I try to find that balance between New York intense life, gigging here, gigging there, touring, but also being home and looking at the world.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's funny. Like, I've known you now for a few years, but you and I have never really spent a lot of time together, But the one thing I have noticed from talking to you is that you do like, for lack of a better term, the kind of vagabonding aspect of life. You love to travel. I always hear about you traveling or setting up going to Morocco or setting up a retreat somewhere or whatever. That does seem to be. It's something that seems to be such a part of you that you talk about it a lot. Yeah. And it's noticeable for someone like myself that hasn't spent that much time around you. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, I think maybe I'm a nomad in my soul or something. I definitely like that. I've been actually. Yeah, you speak about Morocco. I've been there the past 2 years. Yeah. I'm trying to go there now in December again. Yeah. Obviously, I have a huge passion for African music. Yeah. So, of course, I try to go there and learn. But yeah, I left home when I was 18, and just basically traveled for 8 years, and then came here and kept traveling. So. It is a big part of my life, and a part that I like and I intend to keep,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it goes again together with this thing of getting together elements from life that wouldn't otherwise get together. Yeah. In this case, me. Going to places that I don't know, Yeah. And I feel those things changed my life, man. The first time I went to Morocco definitely changed my life. I'm not even talking about music. I'm talking about life.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love this expansion of the mind and of the heart throughout other people's perspectives on it. Yeah. And it definitely happened to me there, and in Europe, in so many places over there, and here in Europe, of course. So I feel like I'm definitely gonna keep doing that. When I go on tour, one of the things I do often is that I request for the tickets to be 5 days longer. So we're done on the 3rd. Can you buy the ticket for the 8th or 9th? And I stay a few days in wherever we are. I love doing that. Because then it's like for free, vacation for free.
Yeah.
Ticket. So yeah, that's definitely one of the touring tricks that I love to do. Whenever possible. It's not always possible, but whenever it is, I love to do it.
I've heard of other people doing that.
Yeah. There's definitely people that do it. Yeah, it's great. It's great. Also, you worked, you earned your bread, you're done. Now just chill in this place that you don't know. That sometimes you don't speak the language.
Yeah.
So it's a good, it's like a good meditation.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, where can people find out more information about you online? Do you have your own website?
Website is down at the moment, so I'm gonna say no. There's in all the social media and website when it will be up again. It's The Bass Walker. So Facebook.com/The Bass Walker, The Bass Walker, Instagram.com/The Bass Walker.
The Bass Walker.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll be sure to put those links in my blog.
Tinder/The Bass Walker. Yeah, I wonder how come nobody got that name. It seems so obvious to me. I remember when I bought the domain for the website, I was like, nah, it's not gonna work. There's gonna be already 10 people that wanted it, and nobody wanted it. So now it's me.
Never assume, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was happy I got the name. So yeah, there, and then the activity is always up there.
Okay.
The things I'm doing, the new projects I'm working on, the cities where I'm at. If there's some listeners in Ljubljana, Slovenia, that maybe one day I'll go there. I hope, and I can. Yeah.
Great.
Or come to my house, and hang out.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, man, thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
Of course, thank you, man. Thanks for making it a little bit here.
Yeah, on behalf of Gabe and the people of Earth, thank you very much. And
thank you, Gabe. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, people of Earth.
See you soon.
See you.
Okay, thank you for sticking around to the end of that interview. I hope you enjoyed that talk with Bam Bam Rodriguez. As you heard from Bam Bam himself, he does not have a website up at the moment, but you can find him on Facebook and Instagram at The Bass Walker. Of course, as always, you can find more information on myself and the People of Earth Ensemble at www.peopleofearthmusic.com. as well as my own website at ianstewartbass.com. Thank you as always for listening, and see you next week.